So, without further ado, will you marry me?
Oh my God! Of course, yes.
Yes. Why is that? My name is Jared Wilson, and from a man's perspective, I'm happy to share my journey with the hopes of changing these statistics for the better, while uncovering the challenges and opportunities with all relationships. It doesn't matter if you're single, in a relationship, it's complicated, you're engaged, married, or divorced. Let's talk about it. Welcome to The Walk. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to The Walk, episode 5. We're talking about financial management. So that's the importance that we agree on budgets and financial matters. Very important episode for us. Not to say the other ones weren't, but we're just continuing to build as we follow down this pathway, this walkway of this relationship we're building here. So let's go to the facts before we talk about what I think, because the facts don't lie. 36% of couples state arguments about money is their key relationship conflict. 56% of healthy marriages talk about finances daily and weekly, compared to 29% of okay marriages. 1 out of 3 have hidden purchases from their spouse. So that is a no-no, but they're hiding the purchases. Why is that? And 94% of healthy marriages discuss money dreams together, compared to 45% of okay marriages. So the facts don't lie. It just shows that this is a topic and a situation, an issue that can become a revolving door in your relationship. You may be making more or less money. You may have more in assets than another. You may have debt. They may not. Credit scores, all of that is coming combined. You always see the jokes of, wait, what's your credit score? Oh, okay, I can't date you. You always hear the jokes of, oh, okay, well, I tell Kiera very flat out, I was doing quite well. And as soon as I started dating her, I went into red. So, I mean, it's just how it is, It is what it is. She loves me for it. But the reality is you have to have those conversations because it gives you a good idea. It's not because you're using it to judge and determine if you want to date someone, but you need to be aware of what you're walking into. When we were talking to our counselors, one of them had a very brilliant point that I love to think about and share. And that's the difference between dating and marriage. And that's independence versus interdependence. When you're dating, you're independent. You are two individuals living independent lives separate from each other. You have your job, you have your house, you have your money, and you handle all of it the way you want to, your habits, your lifestyle, your whatever you want to call it. You do whatever you want over here and you're just happy. And she's doing the exact same thing over here. And then when you guys go on dates, that's the only time you guys really kind of like intertwine. When you're headed into marriage, you're now starting to take these independent lives and finding ways to become interdependent. So it doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're one. It really means you're still two unique individuals who are independent. I can still take care of myself. She can do the same for her. But we're now finding the best of us and trying to bring our strengths and weaknesses together so that way we can be interdependent of each other. So, for us, we were able to have that conversation about finances and what that looks like. So we're going to go into our first activity for today, and that's really for you and your partner to sit down and independently, you're going to actually list out 3 short-term goals and 3 long-term goals financially. What you're going to do is each individually write this out, and then what you're going to do is come together and share those lists with each other so you can see what you have in common. Remember, short-term goals are anything from 6 months to a year. Long-term goals, we'll say, is anything over a year. Figure out what you guys have in common and what those common goals are and how you can help each other contribute to achieving those goals. You may be surprised, and if there's anything that's surprising, it gives you a good way to have an open, honest conversation about what's out there. So by doing that exercise, it just gives you a better idea of understanding maybe where your spouse, your partner is from a financial standpoint, what they're bringing to the table, what they have ambitions or goals on. So, for us, we both were used to being independent. We know how to budget, we know how to handle our money. But one thing is, with my background, I have a better understanding of investments and how those types of aspects work. So we decided when it comes to investments, building our portfolio, our overall Wilson wealth, if you will, is that I'm going to handle those aspects. So I'm handling those investments. That is my job, my task. But when it comes to bills, that monthly, making sure everything's paid on time, budgeting our monthly expenses, are we spending too much here or there? Kara's really good at that. So I'll let her handle that, and we discuss daily and weekly, as B, where we kind of stand with regards to our goals and benchmarks. From seeing what some of her goals are, I was able to say, okay, you like that, you want to get into that, I can help you with that, and vice versa. So you're really, once again, becoming interdependent of each other. So it's a great exercise for you to learn that. The next part is, let's go into activity 2, which is creating a budget together, which is just a good way where if you're serious and you're getting into that pathway or that point in your relationship where you're thinking about those next steps, why wait till you start living with someone to figure out how you're going to handle the finances? The reality is, as men, the expectation is that, and I'm about to bring up a touchy subject just because it's real. And it's like, as men, we're always taught, hey, you're the man of the household. You lead by example. You're supposed to run it. And then the female says, well, who handles these expenses? The way I'm looking at it is you should be in charge of all bills, all household expenses, all of the above. And then, my money is my money. But, there's different ways to how it works. I've been around multiple couples and I've seen different couples do different things. And it comes down to what works for you. So, for example, when you're budgeting, do you have my checking account, her checking account, and a joint account? Do you just have one account? And if so, what are the rules and parameters around that? So, for example, if I have money and I'm putting it in my account from me working hard and Kara decides to go to happy hour with her girls, is she using my money, hanging out with them, or is that money only supposed to be used on the household? It can get really tricky, but that's why you want to have these conversations up front. And going back to the facts, that's why you have so many of these arguments, because people are waiting until they get married and get into these situations to even have the conversation and wait till something happens and then say, oh, now I'm mad that you did something. It was never talked about. So prepare yourself. That's why we're talking about pre-marital counseling, not pre-engagement counseling, not premarital counseling, because we want to get out and ahead of this before you get to that position where you have all that, other things like wedding planning going on and so forth. So take the time, have the conversations. You'll be really surprised. Some of them will be a little bit hard. Some will be easier, but it gives you a better understanding. Don't be afraid to ask about, how much you're making, about credit scores and so forth, and just have a better understanding. Another piece that you can talk about is just understanding what is your partner's outlook on finances. Whether you see money as status or security or enjoyment or control. Some people have different reasonings for why they value money. For me, example, I like nice things. So some people would say, oh, he likes money from status. For me, the importance of money is because I want to have that financial freedom so I can do other things that I really enjoy in life. So is money really an enjoyment thing for me where I like to go out and just spend it frugally? Spend it, on any and everything just for the experience? No. But is it important for me to have control and security of it because I know it allows me to do other things or have access? It's very important. But you want to make sure that if I'm frugal with how my money habits are and I'm about to start dating someone or marry someone who sees money as, hey, make it rain, there could be some conflict. Have the conversation is the biggest point, and it's going to save you a lot of the drama, the errors and frustrations that may happen later. That also goes back to that point of, 1 out of 3 couples say they have hid purchases from their spouse. Why would somebody do that? Probably because that conversation was not had, and instead of getting into that argument for doing something, they rather just hide it and so forth. So I'll be very candid. We're on Mint, mint.com, which allows you to manage finances. Kara can see all the finances that I put out there, all the finances that she puts out there, and we just have that conversation, and it's just being real about it. The better you can have those conversations, the better off you're going to be. And more importantly, if you can align your goals with each other to be interdependent as opposed to still independent, you're going to go so much farther. So that's all for us right now on this episode. What we're going to do is get into our next episode and episode 6, which will be a lot better. It's more leisure. It's leisure activity. So stay tuned. We'll talk to you then. Until now and until then, this is Jared Wilson. This is The Walk, episode 5. Stand tall.